macaroni and cheese. You really want to know what the supper was tonight.
I guess that means you're not making the siyum.
What on Kahelis?
They tell you yet.
I should do a Kahelis. Like I show, like you got Reb David Cohen making on Shulchan Aruch, and I'm making one on Kahelis. Okay. Yeah. For some reason, that one won't go viral.
That's true. It's yeah, will make it go viral.
So see Yaakov Mitzvah in the next 40 years, you see what you can accomplish. You see that? It's a shame.
Yeah, I hope so.
Send it to Wartelski. If Wartelski catches you, he'll make it viral.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so let's go. What are we up to here?
The Mishnah Memal.
Mishnah on the top, right? Yeah. Okay, so now we continue. We're continuing the ways of chazaka, right? How to make chazaka. So kol chazaka. This is actually we mentioned this when we were going through the basics of chazaka, but this is mamash a basic of chazaka, right? Meaning you go into a guy you find a guy in your field and you say, what are you doing here? He says, I don't know, I saw an empty field and I just sat down for 3 years and now it's mine. That doesn't work, right? Doesn't work that way. Because you have to have a reason why you're in the field. Right, so let's see. Kol chazaka she'eni matayna eina chazaka. Any chazaka that doesn't have a taina with it is not a chazaka. Ketzad Amar loy ma'ata isa b'soishali. You tell him, what are you doing in my field? Boo Amar loy, and he says to him, Shaloi Amar li Adam davar me'el. Nobody said boo. Nobody, not a person said anything to me. Forever. Ain't a chazaka that's not a chazaka. You have no permission to be there, and you kick him out. But if the guy, the squatter, Shemachartali, says you sold it to me, Shenasatali matana, you gave me as a present. Avicha machrali, your father sold it to me. Avicha nasli matana, or your father gave it to me with a present. Areitzu chazaka, that is a chazaka, right? Because he said a reason why he was in this field, and since nobody said anything to him for 3 years, so now he has it. But v'haba mishum Yerusha ain't a tzarach taina. If somebody is in the field because of Yerusha, then he does not have to taina anything. Meaning, if a guy comes into if a guy asks him, what are you doing in this field? He says, it's my Yerusha from my father. He does not have to prove where his father got it from. Meaning that first level is enough. All he has to do is say that he got a Yerusha from his father, right?
But
that's it.
Does he have to be there for 3 years? Or he could say his father was there for 2 of the years and he's there for 1 of the years?
That's going to be tomorrow's stuff.
Okay.
Very good.
Does he have to prove that? Does he have to prove that he got it?
Yes. So it's interesting. The Rashbam says, based on the Gemara later, right, that he needs to bring Eidim that they were there for at least 1 day, that the father was there for 1 day. Right? 1 day, the Rashbam says, 1 day they got to be there. Yeah, I mean, whatever, that he has to prove, he has to bring Adam that he was there for 1 day, but that's it, no more than that.
But the 3 or 4 examples that the Mishnah brings, so why does he need a chazaka? Maybe he sold the guy, he said maybe the guy sold it to him yesterday.
Oh, because it's talking about where he doesn't have the star.
Doesn't have the star.
Right. If he had the star, he has the star. It's talking about the guy. He comes over to the guy and he says, what do you do in this field? He says, I don't know, nothing. I was here. Right. And he said, where's your star? I don't have a star, but I moved in and nobody told me anything. That's no good. You tell him, you tell him, what are you doing? He says, I bought it. He says, okay, where's your star? I don't have a star. I don't need the star. Right. After 3 years, people throw away the star.
So he says, I bought it from you. And he says, I'm already here 3 years. That's what he's saying. He's saying both.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's the Mishnah. So Gemara says Pshita, right? It's Pashat. Why would you think that a guy just moves himself into somebody's land and 3 years later, voila, he has himself a land, right? So how could that be? So I mean, but why? I mean, not how could it be? Why was you have a meter that it could be? So it says,
Well, a
well,
hefker. It was hefker. What's the shiloh?
what?
It was hefker.
No, but this
Nope.
guy came. This guy comes to him and says, "It's mine. It's not Efker." Right? That he's saying that it's no longer Hefker.
The guy's saying it's no longer hefker.
Yeah, what he's saying is you thought it was Hefker, but it's not. It's mine. He says, "Okay."
You have any proof?
But the guy doesn't have any proof.
The guy who says it's mine.
He's gonna have to prove it.
This is what he has to bring out a star.
Yeah, I don't know why he would have a star, or he's gonna have to bring Adam or something.
He has a chazak and he has Eidim. I'm saying
Same as in every other case. The person who's trying to claim it has to have a proof that it was his.
I gotta with Adam, probably with Adam.
So I have a chazak, you have Eidim.
Correct. Well, he does. He doesn't have a chazaka.
It's only a chazaka with a taina.
He thought he had a chazaka, but they knocked that out because he had no taina. Right?
Why does he need a taina?
Why do you need the taina? Because otherwise, what are you doing moving into a field?
It's hefker.
But it's not hefker.
Who says?
The guy who's bringing proof.
It
that
obviously
it was
is. Nobody.
You thought
It
it was
obviously
hefker.
is. Nobody said anything to me in the last 3 years.
You thought it was Hefker.
And what taina does the other guy have?
He shows with Adam that it was his field.
Really? So where's your star?
See, he doesn't have. Maybe he had. He could have a star.
So
or he
why
could-
is his taina of its mind any better than the guy's taina that I have a chazaka?
Because he doesn't have a chazaka.
He does.
It isn't a chazaka.
He lived
It's
there
not
for 3
because
years.
it doesn't have a taina.
He lived there for
Taina.
3 years. What do you mean? He has, of course, he's a taina.
No, but
And
that's
that's the din of the Mishnah.
it's 3 years doesn't work unless you have a taina. If you don't have a taina, then 3 years.
I'm asking you why. I don't understand why. Just help.
Because you have to have a reason why you're in this guy's field.
It's hefker. I moved in.
That's not a good reason.
Why not?
Because it's not Hefker, because now there's a guy that claimed it. Oh,
Prove
where's
it.
he been? Where's he been for the last 3 years? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay, so
So he
prove
has,
it.
of course he has to. He does have to prove it. No question he has to prove it.
Can I take your
Why-
Chelik Beit Choshen Mishpat Shulchan Aruch off your shelf because you haven't touched it in the last 3 years? Is it after?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Just because you haven't been there in 3 years doesn't make something after.
You know,
He wasn't-
that yapcha kugel you sold me last week tasted pretty raunchy. I don't know when you made it.
I'm having flashing, what's it called? Withdrawal.
Withdrawal, right?
Yeah. If I he has to prove it. Otherwise, and the whole thing doesn't
Why
start.
is his proof any better than his chazaka?
Because Chazaka is no proof. All it is that he stayed there for 3
Chazaka's
years.
proof. Nobody threw me off for 3 years.
That's good, but that's not a proof. That's not a proof that it's his. He's not even saying that it's
So what
belongs
is chazaka? So what's chazaka?
Chazaka is together with a taina that you bought it or were given it as a present or you
I'm
got it
asking you, why does the taina have to be tied to the chazaka?
because
We have
otherwise
this at the beginning of Hilchas Chazaka. All Chazaka does is it allows me to not
Go
have a
in a
star
star.
anymore. If I say that I came in without a star, then what are you doing here? You have no right to be here in the first place. So Chazaka does nothing. All it does is allow you to lose a star. You never had a star. So your Chazaka does nothing.
I think we just go with a Teku and move on.
And the taina you don't even have proof for. A taina with a chazaka is good. What? A taina with a chazaka, you don't have proof. I'm sorry, I'm not understanding.
Meaning all, like the Gershon said it very nicely. Chazaka, all it does is replaces a star. Right? That's all it does. But if you're not saying that the field belongs to you, so then why should it belong to you?
I'm saying that I lived in for 3 years. It's mine. That was Hefker.
But it's not Hefker.
It was Hefker when I moved. When I parked myself.
But it wasn't.
You thought it was Hefker, but it wasn't Hefker. You thought it was, but it wasn't.
Okay, I think we can really do this after the daf.
I have the kid. You know, you have the guys in camp. These kids come over and they find the Metzia, and they're all excited that they got it. And then I say, go to the office and let them announce it. And they just see they thought they got themselves a Hefker, they got a Chazaka, and then I got to be the bad guy. Tell them, right? And I only finished Gehelas, not Shulchan Aruch, but that's maybe that. So I'm the bad guy. So this guy also, he's sat in there for 3 years. He's marking it off on the wall every day. He's there 3 years. Then at the 3rd year, the guy comes and says, "What are you doing here?" Right? But you're right, Zev, he could just easily lie.
Zev, Larry Ellison, the chairman of Oracle, he has like 15 properties that he lived. Each one is between 10 million and 150 million dollars. So maybe he didn't go to one of them for 3 years. He has all these houses all over the world. Maybe he didn't go to one of them. Doesn't mean it's Hefker.
It's what he thought it was. It's not.
A chazaka doesn't take the place of a kinyan. It takes the place of a proof. But you have to have some sort of. There has to be some sort of kinyan that took place. I bought it off
telling
there,
you,
I got
I
it
have
from
a
my father.
kinyan. I kinyan. I moved on to the property. Nobody said a word. It's mine now. But the proof is because I was here for 3 years.
Yeah, but when a guy comes with his Adam or his star, you'll be stuck.
Why is he stuck?
Guys, Tiago, we got it.
Because it's not Hefker.
Okay.
All right.
The fact that you want to claim something is Hefker doesn't make it Hefker.
Right.
Okay.
We gotta go weiter. We gotta go weiter.
720 anymore.
We're gonna see in tomorrow's daf, Bez Hashem, that there is a way you can make a chazaka instantly by building a fence, digging a hole. That's if a kinyan is happening that way. But we'll see that tomorrow, Bez Hashem. So anyway, so Gemara says Pshita.
At this rate, we're not getting to tomorrow's daf, so we don't need to worry about it.
Well, that's why we have to discuss tomorrow's daf now, in case we don't get to it. So Mao is saying, well, what might you say? Hi, Gavra, Mizvan, Zavnale, Hi, Ara. So no, here's the Havamina. This is why the Mishnah has to teach you that the guy has nothing. Because this guy, maybe he really did buy it. Mizvan, Zavnale, Hi, Ara. The star and he had a star, and he lost it. In this that he said this. So Savar, if I'm going to say, meaning why is he making up the story that it was, like Zev is saying that it was Hefker and he just stayed in the land, right? Because he's thinking to himself, if I say I bought it, Amri Li, so they're going to say, okay, where's your star? And he didn't know that there's such a thing as Chazaka, or he didn't know, meaning he didn't know, he thought he's going to lose his land if he doesn't have it. Hilkach, Lema Le Anan. So we would think maybe we should tell him, meaning we should, lead the witness. And tell him, Dilma Shtara Havalach Virchas, maybe you had a star and you lost it. Right, so that would be the Havamina. Right, Kugoin Zeh, and like this, Pasach Picha Le'ilem, that's like opening the mouth to somebody who's mute. Meaning somebody who's mute, you help him along to say what he has to say. So maybe that's what we would do here too. And meaning really he had a star. And we then lead him along to say that he might have had a star and a taka his. That we don't lead the witness. And Bezdin does not do that. If he didn't say he owned the field, either by buying it, yashining it, getting it as a present, then he's out. And that's the Chiddush. Meaning the Chiddush of the Mishnah is that we don't lead the witness. Okay, then we have 3 stories here. Those that are worried about the daf going late, it's really not hard tomorrow. 3 stories here of people putting their fences in the wrong places. All right, so let's see the first case. So Rav Anan shokol bitka ba'arei. So by Rav Anan, a bitka is a flood. A flood flooded his land. Yeah. And it took away his whole land, meaning it took away everything. It wiped out his thing, and he needed to put up new fences between him and his neighbor. Azal hadar guda ba'arei dechavre. He went and he put up a fence, but because he didn't know the exact boundary, he ended up putting the fence in his neighbor's property. This is mamish so common. This is so common, this fight. Right? One guy put up the fence, not near, into the other guy's property. So also look at Rav Nachman. They came in front of Rav Nachman. Amalei Zil Hadar, he says you got to give him back. Take down the fence and move it over to the property, the proper property line. So then he said back to him, "Achzikili, at a chazaka," meaning what's the chazaka here? Not 3 years. He's at least what the Gemara is thinking now. The neighbor saw me putting my fence there, and he didn't say boo. So if he didn't say boo, therefore that becomes it must be that he was mighty, that it's mine, and I have a chazaka. So Amalei. So Rav Nachman told back to Rav Anan, come on, who are you going like? Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shmuel? You're going like Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shmuel, like we had Rabbi Shmuel in the first Mishnah? If it's in front of him, then the chazaka is immediate. You don't need to wait 3 years. But the Allah is not like them. Right? Meaning, they take a hold that chazaka is immediate. If the boss is there, whatever, the rightful owner is there, and you moved it and it wasn't in the first Mishnah. Right? Shittas Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shmuel. Right? If the owner is there and he sees you moving into his land and he doesn't say anything, you're out. I mean, whatever, he's out. But we don't paskin like him. So just because you say that the neighbor saw you moving the fence doesn't mean you have a chazak. And then Amar Lei, so he says to him, he was Michael. He's Michael. He helped me move the fence. Meaning he himself helped me move the fence. So how could it be, right? How could it be that he's coming back with tinus? Nobody goes and helps somebody build a fence, right? And then lets it fly for a few days even, right? So Amalei mechila b'tois. It was a mechila b'tois. Because why? Because at kufach iav yadat lo yavatim. Meaning you're not a crook. Had you known where the boundary line, where the property line was, you wouldn't have moved it over. You're not a crook. Just the same way you didn't know where the property line was. He also didn't know. Right? Meaning, so you're trying to say that he helped you put the fence there. So therefore it must have been it was a mechila. No, it wasn't a mechila. You don't know where the property line is, so he didn't know where the property line is. Then he probably had that brother-in-law that came over and said, I have access to all the files, and I know I got a friend who works for the city, and he knows, and I'm finding out for you, and it's 3 centimeters on the wrong place, and let's go beat up the neighbor now, right?
No, a lot of guys do it when they sell the house. They realize,
right? Yes.
So he might have said fine, but he didn't realize later on. Oh, actually, it's not correct.
Yeah. My mother just had this with her pool with the neighbor. Because in the boundary line of my mother's block, it's on an angle. It's not straight. Right? So Mamela, it's like sort of cut off their property. So they were trying to figure out exactly where the fence was or not. But anyways, so that's what we're saying. So he said, the same way you're making a mistake, he also made a mistake. It was a mechila b'tois. Fine. Okay, that's story number 1. Story number 2, Rav Kahana shokol bitka ba'arei. Same thing. Rav Kahana also had a bitka. A bitka's what do you call it? Flood, right? A flood came in his land. Also, and then what he did is Rav Kahana went and built the fence in a land that didn't belong to him. On Talmud Beis, also Lakamei Rav Yehuda. He came in front of Rav Yehuda. Also, I see Trey Sadi, and the neighbor went and brought 2 witnesses. Chad Omar, Tarti Otziasa all. What he did is he went over 2 rows, meaning there were rows of back then they had land. It was we saw this in Klayim, and we had it in Bava Basra also. He had like lines. The lands looked like lines, sort of like the outfield in baseball stadiums. That's the way. No, we haven't had a baseball reference in a while. Right, the lines in the baseball stadium, they come out like that. Right, so he says he moved the fence over 2 lines, right, and the Chad Omar Tlas, I'd say, he moved it over 3 lines. So what do? So we got 2 Eidim here. Each one saying a different story. So Amarle Zil Shlim Tarti mi Goy Tlas. Well, at least give him 2 out of the 3 because both Eidim are Maida that he for sure. You have 2 Eidim that he for sure moved it over 2 rows. The only thing is you don't even have Eidim that you said moved it over 3 rows. So that's something that we've had before, because do you say that the Eidim Lamaisa are not aligned? One is saying 3 rows and one is saying 2 rows. Right? So if one is saying 3 rows and one is saying 2 rows, so then how can you say that it's a kosher Eidus? Each one's being sliced at each other. Right? So that can't be. So what is it? I mean, not can't be. So one sheet that says it can be. The other one says it doesn't make a difference if the Eidim are sliced to each other. Bottom line is they're both in agreement. They are both in agreement that 2 he for sure did. So Amalei, come on. So he said back to him, Rav Kana said to Rav Yehuda, Paskin this way, come on. Who we going like? Rav Shimon ben Elazar. This is like Rav Shimon ben Elazar. Tanya Rav Shimon ben Elazar. Loitnech B'Shav Yishil. Al Shtei Kitei Eidim Sha'achas Emeres Mana V'Achas Emeres Masayim. Right? There's no machlokes in B'Shav Yishil that if you have 2 sets of Eidim, meaning for a total of 4 people, right? One of them is saying that he owes 100, and the other one is saying that he owes 200. Sheyesh B'Chlal Masayim Mana. That included in 200 is 100. Right? So that in that case, you for sure have kosher Eidim that he owes at least 100. Amar Nechel, what's the machlokes? Al kat achas she'echad oimer mana ve'echad oimer masayim. Like in our case, there's one set of Eidim. One guy is saying 100, and the other guy is saying 200. So they both agree, meaning we do have kosher Eidim that there was a loan of 100 here. But the problem is you don't have 2 Eidim saying that, meaning one Eid said 200, the other one said 100. Right? So Beishamai says their Eidos is split. Nothing to talk about here. That's no good. Included in 200 is 100. Right? So obviously Rav Yehuda is paskening like Rav Shimon ben Elazar's version of this machlokes. So that's it. Fine. So he says, but I'll bring you a letter from Marava, from Eretz Yisrael, that we don't pass like Rav Shimon ben Elazar, and we hold that it's no good. Right? So Amalei, meaning that the Eidim are no good. Amalei said to him, go bring it. Meaning when you go bring it, a proof from Eretz Yisrael that they don't pass in this way, then I'll worry about my stock. Right? Fine. Ahu Gavra, the 3rd story. Right? We did 2 stories. Yeah, Ahu Gavra. The door Bekashta Elisa Arba Shnei. He lived in Kashta, that's the name of the place. But Elisa, he lived in an attic for 4 years, not 3 years, 4 years. Right? Also, Mari de Besa Ashke. So then the owner of the house came and found him. Amalei, my voice behind Besa. What are you doing living here for 4 years? Amalei, Miplanya Zavinta Dezavna Minoch. I bought it from Pliny. Who bought it from you?
What is the 4th year help? Why not say 3 years?
It must be just. I think it's. I'm going to say Balabatish that's the story.
Or is this just the case that happened, right?
Yeah, Maisa Shaya.
Yeah, I think. But I mean, usually when it's Ahu Gavra, it's usually a story, right? So, anyways,
it could be that this needs 4 years because he's saying there's someone owned it between. So if it was just exactly 3 years, there wouldn't be space for someone to be in between.
I hear what you're saying. You're saying, yeah. All right, maybe. Okay, well, we'll really see that in tomorrow's stuff. Anyway, so he told him, I bought it. Now again, he really could have just said, I bought it from you. He didn't say that. He said, I bought it from somebody who bought it from you. So he came from Rafia. If you have Adim, the Darba EU, the Zaras Mine, that the person who you claim you bought it from, meaning the middle guy. There's three guys here. There's the original owner, second owner, and then the end user, the guy that's living there now. So he says, if you can bring proof that the guy you bought the second floor from lived there, even just for a day, we're going to put it into your hand, and you can have it. But if you can't prove that the guy you bought the land from for at least one day was there for at least one day, then you don't get it. So my Rav said, I was sitting in front of Habibi, meaning Habibi doesn't mean Habibi, right? I mean, maybe it does, but it means his uncle. Right? We know that Rav Chia was Rav's uncle from both sides. Right? He was the uncle from the father and the mother. Yeah, because he remarried half a thing. So, anyways, so and I said to him, doesn't a person buy and sell in one night? Meaning he flips. Don't we have people that flip houses and they'll never stay over? The Pia told him, if the guy stayed over one night, we'll let you have it. But maybe the guy flipped it. He came to the house, he bought it, and then he flipped it an hour later. Maybe that would be. And then Rob said, I saw in his das. Right? I guess it was his uncle, so he was able to see what he was thinking. Right? If he says that in front of me, I saw him buy it from you, meaning if the end user, the guy that's being tinted on, the guy that's been living in the last 4 years says, I saw you, I was there in the court when you bought the house from the guy that's complaining against me. Man, and he's believed. Why? Because Migu, our good old Migu, if he was lying, then he would have said that I could have said I bought it from you straight. Why is he making up this whole story of the middleman? Right? So therefore, he would be believed. As long as he could show that he was there, then he would be believed. So Amar Rava, Kavaseder of here, Mustavra makes sense of here. The funny, Above is from Yerusha, ain't it sort of time? Right? That last word of the Mishnah says, if somebody's living in the land and he says he yashid it, he doesn't have to taina how he got the field. Taina who the loy boys, that's mashma. He doesn't need to claim where he got it from. Haraya boy, but he has to give epis the proof. I mean, the Gemara is saying taina he doesn't need. So okay, but he has to bring a proof, which we said the Rashbam says that he needs to prove that his father was there for at least one day. Then the Gemara says, "V'doma loy raya boy, v'loy taina boy." Right? But maybe he doesn't need it. Maybe the Mishnah doesn't mean that. Maybe the dig in the Mishnah is that he doesn't need not a raya and not a taina. So maybe there's no proof from our Mishnah. Shani lekeach, or we say that the lekeach is different, meaning the guy that buys something is different. He doesn't throw out money for no reason. Right? Meaning you want to bring a raya from a Yoirish in our Mishnah that the Yoirish doesn't have to have a taina, right? But he has to have a raya. Maybe the reason why he has to have a raya because it was free. Masha came, a guy that bought something, he doesn't have to bring a raya. He's putting his money on the line. He's saying, I actually bought this field. People don't buy things without looking into it. So Mamela, it's not necessarily a raya from our Mishnah. Fine. So then the Gemara finishes off. So he said he has to sleep there for one night. But what happens if he just saw him there at night? Yeah, meaning is that enough? Meaning it's if the guy that's been in there for 4 years says, I saw him there one night. I don't know if he slept overnight. So is that enough? So Amar Abaya, Abaya says it's the same thing. That's enough. That's enough proof. Rav Omar Ovid Inish to see our Are Veloy Zav. And Rav says not a proof. You have tons of times people go to a field. Seer means they look at the land, and then they don't end up buying. There's no proof that the guy saw him there in the land that night, that he owned it, that the middle guy owned. There's no proof to that, right? How many times do you have real estate deals that fall through? Right? He was there checking it out, but that's it. But that is it. So therefore, it's not a riot. Yeah. All right. We will stop there. Look at that. See, we got it done 9-11 with all the hak, with the Mishnayos, and Rachamim is an hour off. All right.
Nice.
Not necessarily